and welcome back to the Echo Chamber. This month we are doing Tenet.
There are people in the future who need us. Who need Tenet.
We need to save them here and now.
It's reversing the flow of time. Doesn't us being here now mean it never happened?
The first notable movie to come out since
Money Plane. We saw this just like a couple hours ago. You've seen this earlier this week.
Yeah,
right?
earlier this week. Yeah, like 5 days ago.
And we haven't discussed it at all. So these are the raw reactions. First of all, I just want to get this out of the way. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Up, I think.
Okay,
Barely.
I would go up. Yeah. Generally,
Barely.
this is
I like an angled up.
an angled up. I was
Not straight up the bum, but like kind of grazing.
grazing it. Okay, yeah, that's probably a good way to describe it. I was prepared until the third act in this movie to give this a thumbs down. I'm not
Yes.
going to lie.
Yeah.
This was like, I mean, I think it's fair to say that we're all kind of Nolan fanboys a little bit,
Yeah.
you know. But and he's a great director. The early parts of this movie were so slow.
This was just the whole like until the very end. It was just like, how much of a filmmaker can I be?
well, it was
The demonstration.
the way I would describe it too. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but it was slow from a narrative standpoint, but incredibly fast paced in like what was happening.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot going on, but not really any of it.
He kept moving around.
Yeah.
Like it had Rogue One syndrome where you go to like 6 different planets in the first 10 minutes of the movie. It
Yeah.
felt like that where I was just like this whiplash, and you're trying to like. There's not really any character introductions. There's not really like a lot of world building, even especially in the
third
first act. Yeah.
Until really the third
And
act.
so you're just like it's just like whiplash, but at the same time it's still very moving at a slow pace, and I don't know how to like accurately describe that.
Yeah, the pacing in general I felt was very weird, and I think that if it weren't for the third act, it kind of explaining that, it would have killed the movie. But the fact that the third act kind of like cleaned up the originals and made it all like the third act answered all the questions that I had throughout the movie, and
There was a lot of questions.
there were a lot of questions. Yeah,
There was like a good probably like half hour, 45 minutes. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, they like
Things are
purposely
happening.
just kind of left in the dark
Yeah.
for the majority of the movie.
Yeah.
and I was like, even the intro bits. Should we get into spoilers? I will get into spoilers now, I guess.
Sure. Why
Yeah.
not?
So the intro bits, where they're at like the Ukrainian theater or whatever.
Yeah, the opera house or whatever.
I was like,
Orchestra.
yeah, like that cold open was like that. Even that scene felt really long to me.
Yeah.
Like to not know what the hell was happening, you know. And then just the rest of the movie was like that.
Yeah.
And it was just like one thing after another, boom, 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 boom. I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what the villains' motives are. I have no idea what this organization that's trying to fight them is. You know.
A lot of the pronoun game. Of
Yeah.
just like, who are they? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a weird movie, but and that's what makes me like it more though, because it's unique. It's not just it's not just everything else that's
Right.
coming out or was coming out.
Yeah.
I guess.
That's why it's very much like how much of
It takes a lot of
filmmaker can-
risks, and I even if I don't necessarily, especially like first time viewing it, appreciate that. I can appreciate the fact that it's taking risks and not just trying to be, you know,
everything else.
basic
A
3-act
blockbuster.
structure of
Yeah.
you know.
But the one conversation that I kept having with people before I saw this movie was they would ask me what the movie was about, and I would say, I've seen the trailers. I still don't really know.
I was thinking about it after I saw the movie. I don't even think I saw any real trailers. I think I saw those fake ones that came out like last year.
Oh, yeah.
There's
And I
time
went in,
travel, and it looks like James Bond.
And I went I think I went in as blind as I possibly could. Even like that time we went to see like Star Wars completely blind, I think I was even more blind.
Even blinder.
Yes.
Really. It wouldn't have helped.
No.
Yeah, it wouldn't have helped at all, because I saw all the trailers and I still had no idea what was going on. And I also felt like, until the third act, I felt like I was going to have that same conversation just about the movie in general afterwards. Like, I literally could not, like, tell you what was going on if you asked me midway through that movie.
No.
Like, there were definitely clues and things where you could be like, oh yeah, obviously at the end that's going to be them or the girl. Like, at the beginning, there's those really obvious clues that it's like, well, this deals with time, so therefore, obviously these people they aren't showing the faces of are themselves. But like, yeah, until the third act, none of it makes any fucking sense.
There were a couple predictable things. Like when they go to Norway, and they're fighting the guy with the mask, and it's like, oh, obviously.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Yeah,
and it's like, other than that, which you just know because of like the genre of time travel, like kind of meta knowledge. Yeah. Other than that, though, there's like really very little to go on.
But also like because of the mechanism of time travel is unique.
Yeah.
It's also a lot harder to follow than just like go back in time and start going. Yeah, like from that point forward in time again.
And I should stress that this isn't the type of confusing. This isn't like Inception type confusing, where it's like the story makes sense. It's just that you have to lay the mechanics out. Mm-hmm. It's like for the first 2 acts of this movie, it just like the story barely holds together. I would say, like it just from a narrative.
It's just
standpoint.
people going to places and threatening each other and making alliances. But you don't have any context for like any of it.
Yeah.
There's no like typically in a movie you have the setup for your plot right away in the beginning. Like, here's our goal, here's what we're trying to do. Yeah. And this is just like, there's a Cold War, we're trying to stop World War III. But it's not a concrete. It is not a concrete goal, and like what obtains that goal and any sort of concrete information that would lead to that conclusion is just not given to you. And the whole movie, you're just like, okay, all right, and I guess I'll trust you.
Yeah, like there are entirely too many scenes in this movie of 2 people walking down like some sort of hallway or alleyway and like expositing. Yeah, exactly. There are so many scenes like that, and it really does like hurt the pacing a lot. But what were you gonna say?
That's basically I was gonna say exposition, but then I was also gonna say like we should probably like explain the plot.
Yeah, or as best we can.
As best we can.
Yeah. So briefly, the main character, who is, as far as I know, just called the protagonist.
He's just called the protagonist.
Throughout the whole movie.
Very James Bondy.
Yeah. He basically proves his loyalty to this sort of like future organization at the beginning by basically swallowing a cyanide pill instead of giving up his colleagues, And then he gets recruited into the. It's fine. It does that. He gets recruited into the this organization that's stated goal is to prevent World War III, and all we're given until the third act is he asks what World War III, some sort of nuclear holocaust, and one of the members of the organization is just like, it's worse than that, and that's all you get for like motives and villains basically, and then it basically follows the protagonist, and he gets through a very roundabout series of like miniature heist movies, basically. Mm-hmm. He meets this woman whose husband is an arms dealer that's connected with this sort of temporal Cold War. Mm-hmm. And then he gets involved trying to get information and information about what's going on from this arms dealer, who becomes kind of like the central antagonist. Yeah. That was Kenneth Branagh, wasn't it?
That was because that just like escalates up the tension between like the 3 of them, the protagonist, the woman, and then the antagonist. It's escalating tension until he goes inverting time, and he actually becomes inverted at that point. Mm-hmm. Because unlike normal time travel, which you haven't explained the mechanics really either,
right.
Things just start traveling backwards through time. Like they're how do they explain it, Don?
They reverse entropy.
They reverse entropy and science. You know how science
Some
is.
science words.
Yeah. But yeah, the main mechanism is that this organization, Tenet, that's trying to prevent World War III, they've been collecting inverted items, which are items that are traveling backwards in time rather than forwards through time. And throughout the course of the movie, they discover the machines that let you do this, which are called turnstiles. Mm-hmm. And at one point, the protagonist goes into one, and he becomes inverted, and he goes back through time. And that's what leads to him meeting himself or fighting himself in the was it Norwegian airport or whatever? Yeah.
Which we had seen before, and we all knew that it was him.
Yeah.
That scene.
And that was a cool scene too. I like that setup. I mean, the plane crash was pretty cool. Obviously, because it was all real. And I liked the heist movie aspect of that part. I felt that it would have really benefited from having more members of the core team. like Inception, because they have like that one guy that like drives the boat or whatever, and he like shows up, and then but other than him, they really just like hire guys for like one-off jobs, you know.
And the movie doesn't have like very robust characters either. They're all pretty like Neil is probably the most interesting.
I think my favorite of all
and
of them. Yeah.
Honestly, like, and he's not even very well fleshed out. Most of them are like just like caricatures. Like you have your job and you do your job and then you go off screen.
Right. Even the protagonist isn't like super.
He's pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah, charismatic.
He's basically just a vessel for the story to move forward. He doesn't really.
Yeah.
Care or do it's just his job.
He doesn't he actually I didn't like him that much until the third act. He kind of started growing on me at that point, but until that's you know like final battle scene and stuff, he kind of just came across like he just looked vaguely disinterested.
Yeah.
Like I just never got like that he really had a dog in the race.
Yeah.
You know, like
Robert Pattinson.
I like the character.
Reinvented himself.
Yes.
Yeah. the werewolf man or the vampire man.
Whatever. Oh, that's another video we should do.
Kill me. I think he's got a good future ahead of him.
Or a good past ahead of him.
Fuck off.
The other twist that I definitely saw coming was that the protagonist was the one who was like the leader of the organization. I was like, oh really, really?
Mm-hmm.
But it's still. I mean, it was fine. I don't think it was supposed to be like. It wasn't like a M. Night Shyamalan movie where the hook isn't the twist.
Yeah.
The hook is the mechanics of time travel, which I think were really well done and different from what I've seen in time travel movies
and
before.
visually, the entire thing was amazing.
Oh yeah, obviously, like the cinematography was great. Yeah.
Back to your point about like the twist, it didn't feel like it was supposed to be like see.
Yeah.
It was just like it's a thing.
It's a thing. It's like you probably knew this, but you know,
and again,
we'll say it.
This is how time travel works.
Right, it plays into the mechanics of the time travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cinematography though, that movie just...
Yeah.
Those shots of like the wind farm, those like panorama shots, so good.
There's so many good shots.
I just
in that
like,
movie.
I want to know how they filmed like the fight scenes when the one guy was inverted.
Yeah, I do wonder.
It feels not fun.
Because the inverted guys do move like weirdly enough, you know, and how do you get them to look that way? I wonder how much CGI was involved.
And even like, because like how much CGI and like how much is like,
like
fighting like when you're fighting normal, but the person opposite you is inverted. Like how do you choreograph that?
Yeah, I'd love to see some behind the scenes footage on that, but yeah.
Yeah, because I kept watching for it to look like really goofy, but it looked really. It made sense within the context and whatever, like it. Mm-hmm. Especially like when he's blocking himself, like he's fighting himself, so like he's gonna keep blocking himself. That was pretty cool.
The other thing that I really liked is leading into the third act, they introduced this concept of, they call it the temporal pincer movement. Yeah. And they did it, like Nolan did it really masterfully because he had the villains do it first. So you get to see, and what it is you have, you shadow whoever your opponents are so you know what's going to happen, and then you go through an inverter, and then you come back and, you know, alter the events basically. Not really alter because all of it stays the same, but you interfere with the events you manipulate them so that you know, are in a favorable position.
Yeah.
Basically predicting the future.
Yeah.
Or not predicting, but...
Because you know what's going to happen.
Viewing the future and then using that to your strategic advantage.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this happens in the sort of the middle-ish part of the movie with a heist, and the arms dealer guy gets one of the MacGuffins because he employs this temporal pincer movement. And then the climax of the movie involves the protagonist organization, the Tenet organization, like doing a massive temporal pincer movement with like two like platoons basically of soldiers, and there's this like whole inverted battle where half of the Tenet organization is going through time normally, and half of them are going through it in reverse. Yeah. And that whole scene was great. I especially loved the stuff with Neil in that scene because he actually finds an inverter in that in that scene, and he goes back and tries to help the protagonist who's going through time normally. But he was originally
and then
inverted.
they play through that and they show like all the ways that he helped. I also really liked some little touches with. Because there's like the destroyed buildings, and then there was like the guy. He's like, "Get out of there!" And then the guy gets sealed up in the building because the building reverses.
It reverse explodes.
Yeah. It's definitely a movie that would do with do even better with repeat viewing.
Yeah, I would definitely watch it again to see everything.
Like,
but-
I think that's true
like,
of most good time travel
yeah,
movies, though, or any kind of time manipulation.
Right.
especially following like both the pincer movement at once.
Yeah.
Would be beneficial.
The other thing that I thought was a good twist at the end was where they reveal how Neil had known the protagonist like for a really long time.
Yeah.
Because there were basically that was one of the main questions that I had up until that point in the movie was why the hell does this guy know so much? You know,
Right, yeah.
Like clearly, I kept expecting him to betray
Yeah.
the protagonist. I was like, hey, maybe he's working for the enemy, he's working for the other. You know,
I was worried they were going to do that because I liked it.
yeah, I know. I was like, he's going to be a traitor, isn't he? And then I thought they were going to do that with the other guy, the third guy at the end too, like the other red team leader, you know, because he pulls a gun on
military man.
and he pulls a gun on the protagonist. I was like, really? Like, but then he was fine. They actually had an explanation for it.
Yeah.
But that was one of the big questions: was who was Neil? What was his deal?
Yeah.
The other one was who are the villains and what are their motives? Because they reveal gradually World War III. What's worse than nuclear holocaust is they're going to invert the whole world, right? And that would kill everybody, as we're told, right? Because of science. And the explanation is fine. That's a suitably villainous goal.
Yeah.
But why? Why would you want to do that? And at the end, they have the
Most half-assed response ever.
At least they answered it.
Yeah.
All right. Like it wasn't like a great answer, but I was expecting it just to never get covered.
Yeah.
You know, they have like the villain of the arms dealer guy. He's gonna do that. He's gonna destroy the world, and he's got a dead man's switch basically. So when he dies, everything else dies. And he says that the people in the future want everything to die because global warming or something like.
Yeah, we ruined the climate.
Yeah.
For the people in the future, so they're gonna.
Kill us or something. Which is like, at least they thought of it. You know, it's not like groundbreaking, but at least they thought to answer it.
What do you guys think of the guy who played the villain?
I didn't have any
Silent.
super complaints. You know.
He's like I think he's a fairly big British like stage actor.
Kenneth Branagh, yeah.
Yeah, because he and like the non focus on the family in Narnia. He reads one of those. He also plays.
Ro.
Huh? I was gonna say something.
Oh, you were gonna say something else?
Because you don't care about it, but it's Gilderoy Lockhart from.
I don't care either.
Yeah, but you at least. Yeah, but you
Is
at
that
least,
really?
Yeah, it's Gilderoy Lockhart from the Chamber of Secrets.
That's the guy that's lying about being smart, right?
Yes. He also directs Thor. That actor.
That's right. Wait, which Thor?
The first Thor.
Oh, really?
The okay
Not the worst one.
The okay one, yeah.
Anyways, back to Tenet. I almost.
Back to Tenet. Back in time.
I think another interesting thing about Nolan is like so many of the actors I had never heard of before in that. Like there was Kenneth Branagh, there's Michael Caine who was in it for one scene because it's a Nolan movie.
Yeah.
But like all the other people,
Obligatory Michael Caine.
yeah,
Who spoils the movie.
kind of.
He basically tells you the end of the movie. I mean, you don't know without context, but he tells you about how Sator fails in the location that the end of the movie takes place in because they go back before the conversation with Michael Caine happened. So he basically just tells you where the end of the movie takes place and that the guy loses. So which was pretty cool. That's like a repeat viewing thing.
Yep.
Like my other thing was like he seemed like very attached to the woman and her kid.
Yeah,
Like,
I was gonna say I never really cared about the cat thing. I know why she had to be there. That was her name, right? Cat.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that was her. Yeah, I think that was.
I
her
just
name.
didn't care about her. Any scene that she was like the main thing going on, I was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, what bothered me more.
She
was,
just
like,
I didn't find her very interesting.
What bothered me more is just like how like obsessed the protagonist was with like doing like why you're trained, you're a hardened killer. Why do you care so much about this?
Well, he has a weird thing against arms dealers. That's the only character trait we get about him for like the entirety of the movie is he doesn't like arms dealers for some reason.
I think that was just supposed to be general, like he's a virtuous.
I know,
killer
but
with
he
a heart
brings
of
it up
gold.
like 3 times in the first 2 acts about how like arms dealers are the worst of the worst.
I guess.
I just harps on the point a little bit.
I guess I didn't super feel that it was weird that he was like interested in Kat as much, just because like I think the point of it was that it was uncharacteristic, you know?
Sure.
Because it was like the first time that he seemed to have like a human connection,
Sure,
I
sure.
guess. But again, it
Neil?
wasn't. Yeah. That hadn't happened yet. That's in the past of the future.
What happened for Neil?
Yeah. R.I.P.
Rest in peace, my sweet summer child.
Did anybody else think that one of the guys on the plane looked like Leonardo DiCaprio?
I did not see it at all.
One of the guys who gets like chloroformed right as they're like taking the plane over to crash it.
I guess
He looks exactly like Leonardo DiCaprio. I couldn't
Did
find
you
it on
think John
IMDb.
Hamm was on the plane? When they first, because there's the two guys, right, that infiltrate the plane.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
When they're
Terrorists.
first getting on, all you see is the guy from the back, and you get to see like his chin, and he looks just like John Hamm.
I had neither of these experiences.
You didn't have a John Hamm experience on a plane?
No.
John Hamm experience. Yes, I'd like the John Hamm experience.
We all would. That's what I'm
Present, one ticket for Tenet, and I'd like the John Hamm experience, if you know what I mean.
The only plane, the only plane you can have a John Hamm experience on is the money plane.
Money plane.
Time.
Some of the heists, though, are pretty fun to watch.
Yeah. Here's the thing: the heists were fun. It would have been great to know why it mattered.
Yeah. The problem is I don't know how you do that, though.
Without
Because the whole point of a
revealing it?
time travel story is about the loop, so if you already know the end of the loop, which is the goal,
Yeah.
like, you kind of have to purposely obscure things.
I'm not saying that. Like,
No, I know.
I'm saying I'm
Devil's
not saying
advocate.
you have to. I'm not saying you have to reveal what's like going on behind the scenes. I'm just saying you have. I completely forgot like what they were trying to steal.
Sure,
Like
yeah.
just the MacGuffin of it. Like I need to know why that's important.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like I don't know. I remember like what they were trying to do in the Oslo place, the airport. Like I don't remember specifically what they were trying to steal or
Sure.
get.
Oh yeah, the painting.
But they didn't. They weren't there for that, were they?
I think at the
That was a
the
side
airport.
objective, right?
No, because he tells her that they're gonna steal the painting, but they don't, right? Or is that time travel?
Well, what I believe, they were trying to figure out what he was hiding there. And they were
Right.
using the painting to get her involved because she had a vested interest in
Yeah.
the painting vanishing.
That's what I thought it was.
But they were trying to find... Well, they didn't know what they were trying to find, but they,
No, I
found,
thought they were-
they found the turnstile.
I thought they were trying to get because the painting
Right?
is like what
I think.
They were looking for whatever he was storing
No,
in the vault.
no,
It
they were
turned
looking
out
for
to
the
be
painting.
No,
turnstile.
they weren't looking for the painting.
they were looking for the painting because the painting
No.
was his control over the cat.
That's what he told Kat, but they weren't actually doing that. Because remember when he puts the painting, he like shows her the painting on the silver platter,
Yeah,
and she
he
confronts
removed
him.
it before...
And they
it
never
happened.
looked at it because then Kat confronts the protagonist later about it, and he's like, "I'm sorry," which seems to indicate that was
Yeah, he
never
basically...
good.
I thought he was even more elaborate than that. He was just like, yeah, sorry, we messed up.
Or like
Well,
no, like that he used her. It's not
yeah.
they didn't mess
no,
up.
I know.
it,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, because what they wanted is they needed to use her to get access to his vault because
Yeah.
they knew that he was storing something secret in there. The only reason they could get the information though is because she had information about the painting. She had a vested interest in the painting
Right.
disappearing. So use that to get to the vault. Turns out the vault was storing the turnstile, which they didn't realize that's what it was. But then one of them gets sucked into a jet turbine, but not really.
Yeah, it's
I
blown
was
out
really
of a jet
disappointed.
turbine.
True.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about was I kind of liked this movie's philosophy at the end because they have a couple interactions between the protagonist and Neil that seem to indicate that like the multiple like parallel universe, like the multiverse sort of theory it's not in effect in this universe.
Yeah, it's very linear.
Because they say that like you can't actually change the past. Everything that happened has happened.
Yeah.
You know, you can go back and you can manipulate it, but that will just be how it always has been.
Yeah,
if
the
you
cause
do
and
that.
effect will always be the same, but you can manipulate the events.
Which I
But
think is a
it's
really
not,
good
like, infinite.
That's like a good change of pace, I think, because I'm really tired of the multiverse and like none of this matters and like we can. If you do this, then it doesn't matter because another version of you will have done something else in an alternate timeline.
Yeah,
It's
because that's how you get the good scene at the end too with Neil, where you have like the duty bound. Like, like he basically says like I'm gonna go die because that's what he's gonna do.
Right. Yeah.
But that he's okay with it because him and the protagonist have had like 10 years together, and he's like, it's a good friendship. I'm gonna go die now.
his words.
But yeah, I appreciate that it's linear. It also makes it less plot holy that way because if you have it's just infinite realities.
Yeah, that's a bit of a cop out answer.
Yeah.
For a lot of time travel stuff. So I like the mechanics of time travel in this a lot. I like the philosophy of time travel. It's a little cliche, the bit at the end where the villain's like, I'm a god, you know, I don't believe in God, but I'm a god. But it's like, it's fine, like it fits, like it's a good like Nietzschean outlook for a villain, you know. But
I wish they had done a little bit more, because, you know, they introduce a bunch of the rules when he first inverts. Of like how friction and everything works and like thermodynamics.
Yeah.
I wish they would. I expected them to do more with that.
Yeah.
They really only use it like once or twice each thing, and then they don't really talk about it. But like explosions implode, things like that was kind of cool. When you're being exposed to heat, you freeze. Oh, then the lungs. I like that you can't breathe oxygen.
Yeah.
So you have to have these, and that's another way of visually differentiating, as well as the blue being reverse and the red being forward. It's kind of, it's gimmicky, but like you kind of have to have that in order to ground the audience. Because can you imagine the third act if they didn't have the red and the blue? That would be so confusing. You're like, what is happening? I was already like, what is happening? But
yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is probably Nolan's least accessible movie. For sure.
Probably.
To like general audiences. Second would be like
Interstellar.
Memento.
Oh yeah, probably Memento. Yeah.
This felt more Memento-y than most of his other movies.
Yeah.
I feel like
not in a bad way necessarily, but
yeah, probably Memento. I was trying to decide between Memento and Interstellar.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is Interstellar that inaccessible though?
It's inaccessible in a different way, I guess. It's not like because of its narrative or because of its the way that it's portrayed. Sure. It's just like I don't know. It didn't resonate with people.
Sure.
But
sure, yeah. I was talking more about like complexity and.
No, I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah.
Inception was very clear how it worked from the get-go. Yeah. You know, Tenet. It really again. If it wasn't for the third act, I think I would. This would be the first Nolan movie that I would have disliked. Honestly, because it just does not do a good job making you care about it.
The pacing is just really off.
Yeah, so
there's a reason this didn't come out on streaming. Besides the fact that it should be enjoyed on a big screen, that's people would just turn it off. Yeah. If you weren't at a theater and you paid for ticket, am I wrong?
Probably not.
Yeah. Towards the beginning, where he puts on the glove and he's like with the lady who collects all the inversion. I don't remember what her name was. I don't even know if they even say. But
no,
even that exposition is really does not do it any kind of justice, and it's like, well, maybe not that you should have a longer scene of exposition
to the mechanic, because before that we don't know how mechanic even is.
Yeah, but then they don't really use it again for a while, so it's like you either should have rewritten that scene to be more informative and what Don said, basically move everything up so that there's more stuff that's actually. You actually explain the mechanics and can start developing a plot.
It's like, here are the mechanics.
But it waits so long to explain even the surface level of the mechanics, and then just sort of waits around for a while longer, then explains the rest of the mechanics, and then right into the third act.
Yeah.
So the music was fun, how they reversed some of the...
Yeah.
Which was, obviously they were going to do that, but the reversing some of the songs was kind of cool.
Is that Hans Zimmer, I assume?
Probably.
That's
a safe assumption.
I think that was someone else.
Okay. Fact check time.
Ludwig Göransson. Isn't that Blade Runner 2049? Or you know.
What happened to Hans? Have they had a falling out?
Oh man, 2020, you've gone too far. You've gone too far. David Blade takes a sip.
Did you hear he floated away?
What?
Dude. He did a stunt. This is the joke. No one cared. He held on to a bunch of balloons and floated away. Some say he's still floating to this day.
Godspeed.
It wasn't really a trick. It was just a stunt.
That sounds like something Shia LaBeouf would have done.
Well, are they that different?
I don't know. I don't really know anything about David Blaine other than that YouTube video of the, oh my gosh, you're a demon, David Blaine.
That'd be great.
It's the only thing I know about David Blaine, honestly.
Pretty much sums it up, honestly.
Well, do we have anything else about Tenet then?
Don't walk out. Because you might want to early in the movie.
It's a slow burn
Yeah.
or something.
It was good, but definitely is like a rewatch.
Yeah, it was good upon thinking about it.
Yeah.
Definitely we'll see it again. That said, I do think that the movie has some issues that even a second viewing won't change.
Yeah.
You know.
I appreciate that it's different, but yes, I can criticize Nolan.
All right.
It hurts, my boy. It hurts. Something I was gonna add to that. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah. Okay, let's watch Bradley try to catch a mouse.
This is kind of funny. You're all light up.
Shit! I can't grab it.
Here we go. Get some lighting in there.
Oh, god damn it.
It's
gone. Damn it. If I had really cared, I would grab it. Like,
Yeah, you could have gotten it. Right, Brad. He could have gotten it. He chose not to. He chose not to. It was voluntary.